Well, obviously the number one question is how much. How much is this going to cost me? And I try to find. I have 3 different levels of a budget to help people. We have the basic level, which is the well level. We have the call level, and then we have the premium level. And so the premium obviously is the top of the line. The call is middle of the road, and the well is simply, hey, look, I just want to have a party. I want to get my friends and let my friends have a good time. How can you help me out? And generally, I try to work with people in all different levels. So that's the number one. The number one question is, how much is this going to cost me? The other questions people ask, it's interesting. They don't, I do a lot of the question asking. I guess that's I want to know where the party's going to be, what time does it start, what is the party for, how many guests are you having? So those are the questions that I generally ask, so that I can help them tailor their party. Once again, what type of food are you serving at the event? If it's a gigantic event, we have security. What are the average ages? We do both hosted bars and cash bars, and so in both areas there are questions that need to be asked. But sometimes people ask us, how long have you been around? I even have lately people have been checking our references, which I thought is very, very interesting. Do you have any references? And we've got tons of references because most people that we work with are very, very pleased. We get a lot of repeat business because, once again, it's about that excellence. It's about service. One of the things that people always say, it's like, I really appreciated the service today. Everybody was so nice. Everybody was intelligent. Everybody knew what they were doing. And so that's a common response that I get from people. Well, it's all about creativity for me, and that's why I'm involved in it. I go to seminars and I go to educations with liquor companies because I want to know more. And the science, because the cocktail is, in a sense, a science. It came from, the distillation of alcohol comes from water, and this is a 1,000-year-old process that has been going on for a very, very long time. And so when the cocktail was developed, it was basically developed to just sort of round out the flavor of the alcohol, to make it a little bit softer so that people can enjoy the cocktail. And so now, what I love about this whole thing is about this art. It's this science now. It's like I'm going, and I have to go and figure out. I'm like, okay, we're going to do an Asian theme menu. What are the top Asian spices out there, and how can I integrate them? And where can I mix the medias here now? Maybe can I do this with tequila? Can I do this with vodka? Can I do this with gin? Can I do this with a bourbon? Let's say we were using an Asian flavored beverage. When I went to China, the dark liquors were very, very, important. A lot of whiskeys, a lot of bourbons were being drank there. So that would be a good place to start. We were going with bourbon cocktails. And then probably what you start with is, you always start with the basis. I think any artist starts with the basics, and then from there you start to build on the basics, and you start to say, okay, where can I take this to the next place? We look at the cocktail, developing a cocktail like a boxing ring, and we see what flavors and what tastes and what scents are going to knock the other ones out. And so we want to make sure that we want our cocktail to stand within that ring, and so that each of those flavors. My ideal cocktail is you're able to see it first of all, then you're able to smell it. Then the second thing is you're able to taste it, and so you have a beginning taste, you have a middle taste, then you have a finish. And so all of those things should make themselves relevant in a well-designed, well-created cocktail. Obviously, weddings, corporate events, if you want to say bar mitzvahs, they all have their own little special thing. Weddings are obviously, and to me, I handle with care. is what I always say. Because that really is, I mean, historically, families have saved money to, once again, to make this special day. People are putting a lot of money on the line. And I get a lot of calls from people who say, we don't really have a lot of money to do our wedding, but we know that the bar is probably the most important thing there. Outside of the DJ and the bar are usually the most important things at a wedding. And so we want to, I try to deal with the brides as gently as I can. I find that the grooms are very interesting because they usually stay out of it. They only show up when things go wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey. But usually I usually deal with the brides, to make sure that they have everything. And that's why I ask them a lot of questions, because I want to make sure that they have, because sometimes I'll get people that'll call me and say, hey, I know that the DJ and the bar are the most important things, and we really just want to have a party. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But who's going to handle these things for you? Who's going to make sure that all the aspects of your wedding? Do you have a wedding planner? Oh, I don't have a wedding planner. Oh, okay. Well, then let's go over what you're going to need and make sure you have these. And then I like to do a walk of the space with them. I want to go and see where the event's going to be held at. I want to also, for myself also, I want to know where I can store things. I want to know, is it going to be easy for us to get things into the location? How easy is it for everyone to work with us within the location? So I like to take people by the hand. Like I said, I like to take them by the hand and help them through their situation. For a corporate event, usually I'm dealing with a lot of marketing executives, or I'm dealing with meeting planners, and they usually have their stuff together. Most of them, they're very, very specific, and they're coming to us for our professionalism, because they're saying, look, I need to hire a company that is going to get the job done. And so they come to us for that, because they know that once they have a conversation with me, they know that after I go through the conversation with them, what's needed here to make this event successful. It's usually they usually leave us alone and let us get the job done. And so, but now there is a lot of pressure though with them as well. Because once again, this person's whole job, their whole livelihood, is based on setting up this meeting, making it successful, setting up this corporate event, making it successful. If their party's a failure, 9 times out of 10, they could lose their job. Because they're spending a lot of the company's money. And so they need to have their party successful. And so I understand that pressure for them. I understand that their jobs are on the line. So it's not their money, but they need to treat it like their money, because that's their livelihood. And so with them, I make sure that everything is precise. Everything's precise always, but I make sure there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth. There's a lot of emails that go back and forth. There's a lot of conversation, email chains, and detail that needs to be recognized and defined to the corporate client. Oh, the bar mitzvah is a good time. What I like to do with the bar mitzvahs, especially, is we do what we call mocktails. And so I do a bunch of different cocktails with the fresh fruits, with the fresh juices and herbs and spices and things like that for the kids. Obviously more on the sweeter side. And we put them in the martini glasses and, and shake them up. And it's like I'm having a whole bar without, without the alcohol. And so at the same time, it's a sugar fest. I'm not going to lie there. It's a sugar fest. But, also now that we're starting to use things with agave nectars and grade A maple syrups, we can also integrate that in. So if the parents don't want the kids to go off their rocker on white sugar, they can also, we can still sweeten it up without making it, having them up for the next 4 days. So, but yeah, so the bar mitzvahs are fun, and they're a good job. We also, obviously we're making the cocktails for the parents, because it's, once again, this is, even though it's for the kid, it's very much for the parents, and the parents all get together and do their thing. And so I've done, I can't tell you how many bar mitzvahs I've done, tons of them. But they're always interesting, and they're always fun, and they're always, magnificent. It's probably one of the most magnificent things. Next to a wedding, I think a bar mitzvah is probably one of the most magnificent things you'll see, because people spend a lot of money on them. And once again, it goes back to me, for me, is whether you're spending $100 or you're spending $100,000, you're going to get the same level of service. You're going to get the same level of integrity from us, because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that each and every, I don't look at any client, I don't care where you come from, what your background is. Like I said, I deal with people who have $0 in the bank, and I deal with people that are multimillionaires. And I treat everybody the same, because to me it's like, I'm in the party business. I said before I came to Los Angeles, I said, I want to be at all the cool parties. I just didn't know I was going to be running them. So. Yeah, I actually fell into that accidentally. I was working with event. I have flair bartenders on our staff, and they come out, and they're usually performers, and so they're doing stuff. And so a client came to me and said, "Oh, we need something else." I said, "Well, what I could do is I could come out and teach people how to make cocktails at the event." And she was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." So what I started doing from there, what I do is we call these our cocktail presentations, and I go and I bring like the muddlers and the shakers, and if you want to see a muddler, there's a muddler right there. So we bring out the muddlers and the shakers and the mixing glasses and all the things that are needed to make different cocktails, and I bring out a cocktail list with recipes that we give to the client at the end of the event. And everybody gets out there. Usually it really works out great for meetings, like with big organizational meetings where they need a breakout session. And it's a fantastic icebreaker, because everyone's mixing the cocktails together, and I have everybody get together, and I'm like, okay, let's all say "shake it till you break it" before they shake up a cocktail, right? And they all start screaming, "Shake it till you break it! Shake it till you break it!" So they get really into it. They start shaking the cocktails and pouring them off, and then they start tasting them, and they offer it to the other person and see if they like their cocktail, and let's see who made the best cocktail, and it gets into a little bit of a competition. But it's fun. It's so much fun for the clients, because they get to it's an interactive event at the parties, which is a lot of times, that's one of the things that's really important at a party, is can you find interactive things for people to do? And so everybody wants to get behind the bar. I can't tell you how many people come to me every day and go, yeah, I'd like to be a bartender. Have you been a bartender before? No, but I'd like to be a bartender. So to me, I said, this is a great opportunity to allow people to get to be the bartender for 5 minutes. Because really all they want to do is they want to make 1 or 2 drinks and then be out. And so we go through that list, and we take them. I go through the history of the cocktail with them. I go through the history of the spirit. I go through how to make the cocktail. We go through the sight, the smell, and the taste. We'll taste the liquor by itself. We'll taste it with the cocktail. We'll taste the herbs. We'll smell the herbs. For instance, if we're using fresh basil, we want to top that off on the cocktail. So we take the basil, we put it on our hands, we slap it to open up the flavor, open up the smell, and we float that on top of the cocktail. And people love it. They feel like oh, I never did this before. Now I can go to my home party and I can be the superstar behind the bar, because now I know how to make 3 new cocktails. I'm a mixologist, and so basically it's a fun mixology class that they get to do. But overall, I think what just for us, which, like I said, it's finding fun ways. I really want people to have fun in an event that I do. It's like there's no reason, unless you're at a funeral. And even then you might want to have a little fun. But there's no reason why people should, not have a good time at a party.